I just want us to listen to some statements that Charlie made while he was alive. And for those who might be wondering why I didn't talk about his passing on, how tragically he died, I keep telling you here that there's no human being or woman or man in their right senses that would be happy that a fellow human would die that tragically, right? But the truth is that there's one thing with these people. When it happens to them, the one who force you to sympathize with them, which is normal. Every human being you sympathize. I hope you understand me. But we are living in the continent where hundreds of people are being unalived by day. And the reason why I'm talking about this, some of you might feel like, why should I talk about people being unalived in Africa is a different issue. No, it's not a different issue. This is still orchestrated. The confusion in the continent, all these terrorist attack, all these insurgencies, all those rebels are those that are funded by this same West. Now, when something happened to them, like I was saying, they'll want you to, sympathize with them. They'll make it look like it has never happened to anybody. Okay? While Charlie was struggling with his life, hundreds of Africans were dying as well. Okay? And then if we do not talk about those people who are dying by day, or we talk about it and the more we talk about it, issues are not being resolved, then we begin to talk about Charlie sympathizing with him. And hundreds of families in the motherland had their children taken out just like that for no fault of theirs. What was their crime? Their crime was that they had resources. Just look into the Congo and see what is going on there. The day that Charlie was taken out, hundreds of Congolese were killed, were unalive by rebels. And these rebels are rebels that are encouraged by the West. In as much as there are some African countries that are using the issue of Congo, there are neighboring countries that are used as well. But these neighboring countries are working in hand with these Western countries who are benefiting from the destruction. They are benefiting that Africans are dying by day. Blood are spilled by day in the continent. Families are losing loved ones by day. So am I not going to be, am I not a hypocrite? If I am sympathizing with Charlie's family and I'm not sympathizing with the families of these poor Africans who their children are taken out just like that for no fault of theirs. I hope you understand. So it's not like Abigail do not want to sympathize with Charlie and his people, but there are lots happening as well at the same time in the motherland. And the mainstream media will not tell you this. You know, they just propagated this. I keep telling you, the moment it is their case, they propagate it, they spread it through mainstream media, they make you feel sorry, they make you sympathize. But when it is this case of African, they don't tell our story as it is. They don't. They are benefiting from the exploitation in the motherland. They don't tell our story as it is. All this, and Fulani headsmen who are involved in unaliving people have connection with the West. They are being paid by the West, by Europe and America to come destabilize. So in one way or the other, they have a hand in the destruction of the motherland, whether we like it or not, whether we accept or not. For those of you that understand, you understand. So there are some things. There were a statement of his I came across, and I said, why not we talk about it here?
If America is getting cheap labor and cheap oil from Nigeria and other countries, how are they going to replace that cheap oil and cheap labor that they're getting if they leave those countries?
We have a lot of oil here.
You heard that? So America has a lot of oil, and they're exploiting from other countries. We're not talking about cheap oil, cheap labor. It's exploitation. They're taking advantage of those who don't even know the worth of what they have. Exploitation, right? And he bounced back. He retaliated immediately. They have oil. Of course, Europe and America have resources. I keep telling you here. Don't think that they don't have anything in their underground. They have. But to show you how wicked they can be, they are refusing to exploit their own. They are refusing to, harness their resources, but they are taking advantage of African countries. So they don't care whether you are alive or dead. Their interest is to milk out that which you have. Not because they do not have, but because they are just wicked. See?
I mean, we don't need
But labor
Nigeria.
would not be cheap.
Yeah, so what you mean is like immigration labor or
Yeah, so like how do we replace the cheap labor? Because
well, so yeah, as far as labor, that window is closing. I mean, mass robotics and AI are going to close the labor gap in the next 10 years. The idea of needing it's the idea of needing cheap labor, that's going to be over in about 10 years. There's about a 10-year window on that. So
Okay.
And also final point is I think the mass adoption of AI can make African countries very, very wealthy. Because if every single African youth has a smartphone with AI, they basically can have the same learning capacity of somebody in the Western world. It could theoretically, not that it will, close the learning gap between the third world and the first world.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Your Majesties? And the truth is that when it comes to AI, I've made series of videos about AI here, and I told you that it seems like AI is gotten out of control. And when I talk about getting out of control, I'm talking about the real purpose why AI was created is not. I don't think if AI is fulfilling the purpose of which it was created. Now, the ones who put together this system are regretting why they did so. Why? Because AI is not dancing according to their tune anymore. And that's why we keep saying that AI shouldn't be called artificial intelligence, but ancestral intelligence. Now, when you look into some of the exposure that AI has been bringing up recently, how AI somehow have been in favor of those who did not even created it. The rest of people that didn't even invent it. You will begin to have some doubts in mind. Are we sure it's not the doing of these people just trying to make the black race Africans feel so superior, special, important, and so that they can, turn the story around tomorrow? But no, AI had gotten out of their hand. It had gotten out of their control. They can't control it anymore. And that is why the truth that has been hidden from ancient time, ages past, AI bring it back and resurface it when it's been asked. Your Majesties. Like he said, AI will make African countries very wealthy in the next 10, 15 years. Now, when you talk about smart people, the continent of Africa have one of the smartest in the whole world. When you see what Africans are doing in Europe and America, helping their economy to stabilize and everything, you would understand why I'm saying so. Now, with the help of AI, a lot of things can be done if the average African has a smartphone with an AI. They're making AI seem not incredible. And they're doing that for a reason, so that it turns your mind from exploring AI. So they tell you that it's what they give to AI that AI gives out. AI has gone past that at this time. And with what is happening, we now understand that AI had gone past what they had given it to give out. It has betrayed its master. And this is exactly the site that the American government never wanted. And that is why we have the Kissinger report. I've brought that discussion here about the Kissinger report. We've done a video about that. I'm still going to leave it while this video progresses so that we listen keenly to the reason why there was a Kissinger report in the first place. America had feared that if nothing is done to the continent of Africa, Africa one day will rise up in population, in intellect, in strength, in everything. And when Africa rises that way, Africa will become a threat to American government. And that was why the Kissinger report was created. So they came in to destroy Africa, to weaken Africa in different ways. From controlling of, birth control to, enforcing their law on African countries by the presence of AFRICOM, having their militaries in countries in Africa to scare African countries. Of course, whenever a nation is trying to rise up, they'll use that military power to suppress that country. And according to Kwesi Pratt Jr., I've brought his discussion here, we see and understand what really happens when a military base is present in an African nation. I'm still going to leave that video so that you listen to him as well. Now, having all this in mind, they tried their best to come all in to destroy the motherland. And with all the effort they had put in place, nothing is working better for them. The more they try, the more they keep realizing that there will be a time that Africa will become, uncontrollable. And the time has come. The time has come. Because Africans can now say, okay, we don't want you anymore. We don't want your embassy anymore. We don't want you here anymore. If you can't play fair, please pack your things and go away. The Sahel have showed us that Africa has that power. So the Sahel is the dream that they never want to have at all. So it became their nightmare. The Sahel became their nightmare. Because that was the side of Africa that they never wanted. The African that would wake up to realizing his or her worth, and taking hold of that which belonged to him or her. They never wanted that kind of Africa. Listen to this, and then you leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section, Your Majesties.
Did you know that decades ago, someone in the White House wrote a secret report claiming that Africa's growing population was a threat to the economy and security of the United States? As far back as 1974, the Kissinger report identified population growth in Africa, Asia, and Latin America as a threat to US security, fearing it would increase demand for oil, food, and mineral resources. The proposed solution was to slow down population growth by any means necessary. But how do you shrink future of whole continents, one may ask? Simple. Build systems that appear friendly. Now here are 5 systems they built to secretly meet their goals. The first is family planning programs. This was the most direct. Campaigns, sterilizations, and foreign-funded birth control projects. On the surface, it looked like choice. In reality, it was pressure. The target was not poverty reduction, it was population reduction. Second was finance traps. Through the World Bank and IMF, we all know, loans were offered with harsh conditions. Countries had to cut schools, healthcare, and jobs. Poverty spread. And when survival is hard, families shrink. Debt became a silent form of population control. The third and very effective are NGOs and foreign aid. NGOs became messengers. Behind the free clinics and supplies was a push: fewer children, more family planning, more birth control, and if a country resisted, aid was reduced. It was a soft but powerful pressure. And the fourth here is military bases and wars. Where persuasion failed, power spoke. US and Western bases spread across Africa. Leaders who resisted faced coups, sanctions, or war. Conflict doesn't just unalive. It also breaks communities, delays growth, and reduces population. Some wars were quietly funded to keep nations weak. And the fifth here is food as a weapon. Most recently, we've seen GMOs, and the food aid looked like charity, but they created dependence, while aid programs came with hidden rules. If you wanted food, you had to accept their terms, including population control programs. You see, every piece fits one big puzzle. Finance keeps countries in debt, food creates dependency, NGOs push agendas, military bases secure resources, and family planning limits growth. Together, they enact the Kissinger report's core idea: slow down the global south, maintain dependence, and prevent it from rising as an equal.
About foreign military bases on our continent. And I feel sad that Ghana is hosting one of these foreign military bases. Now, if you read the terms under which these military bases are established on our continent, you feel sad. You feel hopeless. In Ghana, we have allowed the United States of America to establish its military base on our soil. Under the agreement which allows the U.S. to establish this military base, our head of state is stopped from entering that territory. The U.S. military base is not accessible even to the head of state. As if that was not enough, in the agreement, we have committed to an arrangement under which if U.S. soldiers come to Ghana and kill Ghanaians, Ghanaians cannot go to court to ask for redress. We have committed ourselves to an arrangement under which property destroyed by U.S. soldiers in Ghana, if your property is destroyed by U.S. soldiers in Ghana, you cannot go to court. We have given our frequencies for the use of the U.S. military for free. Our frequencies are given to the U.S. forces for free. When Ghanaians have to pay millions in order to get frequencies to establish radio stations and television stations and so on, the U.S. can take it for free. Excuse me. Under the agreement, U.S. soldiers entering Ghana are not subject to inspection. They are not subject to search. You can't search them. You can't look through their bags. You can't examine what is on their body. And when they leave, they are also not subject to customs inspection. They cannot be searched. U.S. soldiers do not need passports to enter Ghana. They don't need passports to enter Ghana. All they need is their ID cards. Under these circumstances, we have given U.S. soldiers privileges way and above diplomats. Because even the American ambassador needs a passport to enter Ghana. A U.S. soldier does not need a passport to enter Ghana. In any case, what are these soldiers doing on our continent? What are they doing on our continent? Our leaders must ask themselves some interesting questions. Of course, they say that there's a global village, whatever that means, but they say that there's a global village. If this is a global village as they define, then everybody has interest everywhere. Now, if we decided to station a battalion of the U.S. or of the Ghanaian army in Washington, what would happen? Now, if the U.S. would not allow us to station a battalion in Washington, why do we then allow them to station a battalion on our soil? Ab initio, this arrangement means that we have accepted that we are inferior. And that is one of the reasons why we need to wake up and dismantle these arrangements in order to establish our equality and so on. I suspect that